Nick Page, welcome to 20 something. I am so grateful that you're here, coming up on your busiest season ever. I'm so grateful that you took the time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So for the person who's spending, an hour or so with us today, if they apply everything that we talk about in this conversation, what is going to change about their life?
I'd hope after, what we talk about, you could take what your life is now, what you do, how you go about your life, and understand that you're not doing anything wrong, but there's always places that you can improve. So being able to look inward on yourself and ask yourself kind of the hard questions of how can I get better? How can I improve? How can I reframe something into helping me more? I'd say that would be the big takeaway.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that's an uncomfortable place to be, but a really powerful place to be. So exactly. Let's get into it. Wait, are we recording? Hey, it's Liv, and welcome back to the 20 something podcast. I am so excited that you're here right now. It is always an honor to be here together and to spend this time with you. If this is your first time here, or if someone shared this episode with you, I want to personally welcome you to the podcast where we learn how to navigate your defining decade, create intentional habits, and help you build the life you were always meant to live. And what an incredible episode you decided to start with, because in our studio here today, we have Olympian Nick Page. Have you ever wondered how the greatest athletes in the world perform at the level that they do, stay mentally resilient, and balance everything that comes with such a high pressure life? Well, today you're going to get an inside look, because Nick is one of the most exciting rising mogul skiers in the world. At just 23 years old, he's already represented the United States at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, and he became the youngest male to compete in the medal round over the last decade. He's a World Cup champion with 8 total podiums, a junior world and U.S. national champion, and in 2021, he was named the FIS World Cup Rookie of the Year. This past season alone, Nick landed 6 top 5 finishes and is currently ranked 3rd in the world. And even with everything he's already accomplished, he'll be the first to say that he is nowhere near done. His mindset, his drive, and his ability to compete with the best in the world at such a young age is truly unmatched. And that's why he's here today, to talk about the mental discipline, habit building, and what it takes to stay not only physically strong, but also mentally resilient while chasing high-level goals. We'll dive into what it takes to perform at a world-class level, the discipline, the pressure, the mental game, and what this season looks like for him, qualifying for the 2026 Olympics, and the mindset that keeps him pushing long after most people would have quit. So please help me welcome Nick Page to the 20 something podcast. Introduce us to yourself. Did you always ski? Did you come out of the womb skiing? What did that look like?
Yeah, I was really lucky. Both my parents, they grew up in Salt Lake. They're big skiers and never competitive. But as I was, growing up, they just wanted us to be able to ski as a family, to go out on the weekends at Deer Valley and be able to ski together. So it kind of started, and they put me in the ski school program there at Deer Valley. Kind of went through that program, and by the time I was about 7, I went to them. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love skiing so much!
Wow.
I'm having so much fun with this. Kind of, what's the next step? How can I do this more?" And at that time, they just found, almost on accident, another program called Wasatch Freestyle that was also based out of Deer Valley.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So there were a couple girls in my class who had just signed up. My mom was at a mom's night with them, and they said, "Hey, you should sign Nick up. I bet I'll love it. Give it a try." And from there it was really history. I never looked back. So it ended up being a Mogul's program.
Wow.
And I was really lucky to jump into an event, ended up really liking it. And from there just kind of ran with it. So I was with that team from when I was 7 till I was 16.
Okay.
And then at 16, I made the US ski team.
Wow.
And kind of was plunged into the deep end and went straight to the World Cup, and have been, on the World Cup. I'm going into my 7th year now.
Wow.
And hopefully another bit at a second Olympics, which will be pretty exciting.
That's amazing. What I love so much about that, I feel like anyone who plays sports or has played sports can relate a lot, where it's like you just start out as a little kid who just loves it, right? And then it's like as you get older, and especially with the success that you've had, it turns into a full-blown job and lifestyle. But it's so fun picturing tiny Nick at 7 years old just being like, I love this.
Right. Exactly. No, it's pretty funny because you look back at it, and it's so special to look at everyone's different kind of avenues to how they got there, especially in the athletic world. but I almost tried every sport when I was a kid growing up. And I kind of sucked at all of them equally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could never really find my place, but I just knew I loved doing something in the sporting world. Like I loved playing sports. I was just really bad at them. And then this one, it clicked, and I sucked a little less at skiing than I did with everything else.
Sounds like a lot less.
Right?
Yeah.
and then things just took off. So it's funny how that happened. You could never plan for it, or you could never like have pushed me into this.
Yeah.
It just, things worked out the way they worked out.
Yeah. Well, when I watched your videos of you skiing the moguls, and like it doesn't even do it justice to say it blew my mind, because I snowboard very, very averagely. And whenever there's moguls on a slope, it's like, okay, and we're sliding down on our butt the entire time. Like when it comes to skiing those, it's absolutely wild.
Oh, well, thank you. And I imagine quite a bit harder to ski mogul or to snowboard on moguls than
I mean, I'm sure good snowboarders can do it. I'm just like the most average. So what did that process look like for you at 16, making the US ski team for the first time?
So it was pretty funny. I didn't expect any of it, right? I was, in a good position. I had a decent year, like kind of on it's called the NORAM tour, kind of North American circuit. I'd done okay on it. I think I finished 10th overall, kind of on the season long standings. I had a really good result at our US Nationals, which was kind of a big deal because the whole US ski team was there for it. Ended up getting second place there. So beating a handful of ski team members. And so I'm 16. I was actually on the golf course with my dad, and my director of freestyle now, but he was the head coach, Matt Ganoza. He gives me a call, and I knew him a little. I didn't know him super well at the time. And I actually missed his call to start off.
No way. You're like, sorry, I was busy golfing.
Right. So we connect later. I give him a call, and he's like, hey, I'd love to extend an invitation to you. I'd like you to join my team, join the US ski team, because you've qualified. And, it's kind of this big moment of, wow, this starting to come at me really fast. Like I was hoping to maybe get this in the next 2 years, and now it's happening now. Yeah. And the time I was still a senior in high school, like I just started my senior year, and we were all in. Like me, my family, everyone was like, this is what we're doing. And my school at the time was really, really cooperative. They let me kind of take everything for my senior year online, which
that's awesome.
Saved my life, really, because I wouldn't have been able to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think we added it up. Like I missed 18 out of 30 weeks of my senior year.
Yeah. A good reason to miss though, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it all kind of came like that. And then I was expected to kind of stay on that NORAM tour once I was on the ski team and kind of develop and keep working on that. And what was crazy is we had some injuries, some people that didn't ski, and I ended up starting that season on the World Cup, which was way off the deep end, right? Yeah. Like, no one really, very few people, especially from the US, are in that position at 17. Yeah. And I was plunged into it, and I was lucky to ski that season, all on World Cup, keep my spot the next year, and then really never look back.
Wow. I feel like everybody, no matter if they are skiing or career-wise, you have these moments, right? And they talk about a lot of times how these are your defining moments, and it comes down to your preparation and everything like that. And I'm really excited to dive into kind of your day-to-day habits and discipline and everything like that. But both of those moments, it sounds like, one, when you're starting at such a young age, and also two, that competition when you took second place. How did you stay like mentally solid in those moments when you, like, I'm sure you knew like, okay, this is my time to shine. Like, this is my chance. Right. How do you deal with, and at the Olympics too, like, how do you deal with that kind of pressure?
You touched on it a little, but I think it all comes back to your preparation. Yeah. Right. You want to plan out and be ready for every moment you can and feel like you know exactly what's going to happen, but it's never the way it works. Yeah. You almost just have to look at it and say, when the opportunity comes, I need to be ready for it. And in most of the positions I've always been in, I've been lucky enough to be ready for those moments. And when you look at that first big moment I had, like I went through that whole season and when I was 16, and that was kind of like this defining season because I was qualifying first a lot. And the way our events work is you ski a qualifying round, the top 16 will go to the final, and then you ski that again. And then the top 6 go to what's the super final, and that's the last round. And that whole season, I was qualifying first. Great. So I knew I was capable to ski these really good runs. And then I would bomb it in the final. Like I'd be finishing 16th or 13th. So I was kind of doing that all year long. It was like, everyone was like, okay, how many more times can I just look at this as a learning opportunity?
Yeah.
Cause I need to get off this train.
Yeah.
And then at that US Nationals, which, all the US ski team was at, it's kind of funny. I remember going into it that day, kind of nervous of it. And I was thinking like, okay, well, I've got the US ski team here. I don't have to worry. I'm not going to qualify first. And then what happens? I qualify first.
Yeah. Perfect.
So I'm like, I remember actually sitting on the lift going up for that finals run. And I was like, well, like I've been here so many times. I know what this is going to be like.
Yeah.
Right. I just need to ski another run.
Yeah.
I don't need to make it anything other than it is. And was able to finish out that event. And kind of that was, if there was one moment that feels like the switch got flipped and everything started to work, it was kind of there. So
Yeah.
that was a pretty big,
Oh,
big
it makes
moment.
a lot of sense. Yeah. It sounds like it's almost your rebound rate and relying on that preparation. I remember, I just played soccer in college, so it's literally nothing compared to what you do. But sometimes when I would get in my head, like when you have so many bad passes in a row or bad runs in a row, being able to be like, okay, I have done this a million times.
Right.
And it's like relying on that preparation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are some of your like day-to-day habits that you have built and done? Because I think whether it's skiing, career, relationships, like a lot of these habits, establish really good behaviors no matter what you're pursuing. What are some of your like do or die, have to do these every single day habits?
Right. I'm big on routines. So I think a routine can kind of like set you in motion where things feel consistent. Doesn't mean you'll be able to manage everything perfectly, but you'll at least have kind of a framework where you're not just flying blind all the time. So like, it's really simple, but like I start every day, like I wake up, I shower, I shave, I get going the exact same way every day. Like if it's, an off day in the middle of the summer, or if it's the Olympics, every day is just starting the same way. So I'm kind of getting the ball rolling in this way that just feels really normal.
Yeah.
And then you look at that even on like a micro scale of, my routine going into each run that I ski is pretty consistent. So whether it's a little warm up at the top or like me doing something with my poles and my goggles before I actually push out of the gate, every little piece is so similar that it almost just kind of helps rewrite your brain into thinking like it's just another run, right? It doesn't need anything else on it, or this day doesn't need to be any bigger or smaller than something else because I'm just kind of going through how I always do.
I love that, especially because a lot of times when you're building the groundwork, like when you're out doing runs every single day, hitting the gym every single day, it's groundwork that people aren't seeing. Like people are mostly seeing you when you're on the biggest screen in front of the biggest audience in the entire world, right? But people aren't seeing you waking up on a Tuesday, taking a shower, riding the lift, like doing those things every single day. And it's really easy to see people at their greatest moments and think like, wow, I'm never going to amount to that. And it's like, well, you're not seeing all of the back work that they're putting in every single day. So if someone's in a stage, where they are just waking up and it feels mundane, like all I'm doing is going to the gym and going to work. It's like, well, you're laying the groundwork for those big moments.
Exactly. Because that big moment can't happen if the groundwork wasn't done.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So,
and your like moment like kind of caught you by surprise as well, but you had the preparation like where you said you were ready for it.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So talk to me about the next 2 months or so. I mean, you told me a little bit on the phone and I'm still shocked that you find out 2 weeks before the Olympics starts that that's when you'll be going, but tell me what that process is like of qualifying.
Yeah. So I head off next week. I'm going to go to Finland I'll train for about a week and a half. Wow. And then that leads up into our first World Cup. And that'll be in Ruka, which is kind of always our season opener.
Okay.
From there, really, we're going to have somewhere between 5 and 9 events between beginning of December and middle of January. Each of those is going to be a qualifying event. So coming from the US, we have such a deep field, so many really high quality, good skiers and good athletes that we're kind of competing amongst ourselves as well as the rest of the field on another level. Because when it comes down to, I think it's January 19th, when the team is named, you need to be in that top 4. And that comes from being on podiums, getting wins. That's a really easy way to make your ticket guaranteed. And if you look at it in that way, right, it all falls back on my shoulders. It's really easy to run down the path of like hoping for a discretionary spot or wondering, what are other people going to do? What am I going to try to do against them? It's like, well, if I just show up every day, treat every event like it already is what it is, like I go into every event trying to win. If I do or I don't, I had the intent to. And if it works out, you land on a podium and you win, you've kind of done your job. You've done everything you can. So that's kind of the route to get onto that Olympic team.
So you said you do 9 World Cups. Is that okay? And are those everywhere, or are they all in the same like country?
They'll be all over.
Really?
So that's one of the interesting things about our sport and freestyle, especially, is we travel a ton. So in those 9 events, I'll go from Finland. We're supposed to go to Sweden, but that event's kind of like shaky right now.
Okay.
From there, we'll go to Georgia.
Okay. Random.
Yep. Middle of Asia, of Europe.
Yes.
Then we come home right before the end of the year before picking back up in Montreal.
Okay.
And then we have an event here at Deer Valley.
Oh, fun.
Which is always kind of it's like our Super Bowl. It's our biggest event that we ever see outside of the Olympics.
Wow.
And then it also lines up well where that's our last qualifying event.
Man.
Yep. So we go all over. And then, Olympics in Italy, and then we'll pick up the season in Japan actually right after. And go from there to Kazakhstan and then to Azerbaijan, which is a new venue we've never been to. And so we get to see the whole world, which is really cool and something that, you never knew was a perk of living this life and doing this, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I know I asked you this before, but favorite place you've ever been?
Yes, Japan.
Oh, that's so amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I really liked what you mentioned before, kind of about comparison. I think that that's something we talk to a lot of people on this podcast about, because that's where I think a lot of the negative mindset comes in, is you see people who are in maybe a spot that you would like to be in, or are in a spot where you thought your life would be. And it's really easy to fall into a negative mindset of like, oh, this person seems so successful, or this person, this, or this, right? Why am I here? Have you ever struggled comparing yourself to other athletes or other performances, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a hard thing not to do.
Yeah.
Because we're creatures of habit, and we're always comparing ourselves to something, especially when you're, in a world like mine where, like my career is literally comparing me to other people in a judged sport. So you're always kind of looking at that. But if there's ways that you can reframe it where you really kind of use that to your advantage, and you see, if I compare myself at 3rd in the world to the guy that's 1st in the world, I could look at that one way and think, man, look how he's so much better than me. Like I have no idea how I'm ever going to catch him. Or I could look at it a way where I say, well, let me analyze what he's doing that I'm not. Let me see what someone's doing that I can improve in. And let me learn from other people. Because I think that's essentially the way that you're going to close that gap and make that gap smaller, or even, overtake it, is you have to learn from other people, learn from people that are better than you. And if you look at comparison and kind of that light, you can actually use it to your advantage. Or it's not something detrimental, but it's something really helpful.
That is actually so powerful. It's like kind of like that lifelong learner mentality.
Exactly.
And I think that finding people in life that you really admire and like looking at, okay, they are where I want to be. It's like that advice, right? Like only take advice from people that you would switch places with, like live their life. That's actually a really great way to frame it. I'm like thinking of a lot of times in my life where I can get caught up in negative comparison, and just that quick switch of, well, I really admire the way they're living their life. So what are they doing that I can now emulate?
Exactly.
That's really, really interesting. Wow. I love that. Okay. So we've talked about like a daily routine, kind of this positive comparison. What other habits do you feel like you do that help you stay even just like grounded and rested during this time of insane travel and just intensity for you?
Right. I mean, the like, nuts and bolts of what we do, it's like constantly about trying to recover and get stronger.
Yeah.
And then, work like on our actual craft of getting our skills better. So there's so much that goes on in that world, but then it's constant stretching, it's constant mobility, things to kind of put myself back on par, get back to even. So there's that whole side of it. Like I always joke with my trainer, it's like as intense as training and our workload is getting, the intensity of the recovery has to come up to match that. Because if you're only doing one side, you're really going to put yourself behind the 8 ball. When you risk injuries, risk overworking yourself, but then you're also not going to get everything out of it, because the next day when you come back, you won't be at a place where you're going to be as productive. So I'd say that kind of runs that part of my training life. But in the next step of just kind of me in general is I try to live every day by getting better today than I was yesterday. That's always kind of what I come back to. Like if I can, finish a day, ask myself, did I get better or closer to my goal? And if the answer is yes, it's like, right, I'm doing the right thing. Because this big goal of, whatever it is, isn't going to happen overnight. So it's taking every day as a step to get better. And then if you do that over, the consistency of a season, over 5 years, over 10 years, you're going to look back and think, look how far I've just came just on focusing on getting better in the short term. Yeah.
That's a really important aspect that I think a lot of people overlook is rest and recovery.
Right.
I am victim to that. And I think that I tore my ACL 3 times in soccer. So obviously I struggled there as well with patience. But I think that even just in day-to-day life, like we get so caught up in how fast can I run? How fast can I get this done? Where it's, you forget the importance like of resting and healing. And I hate stretching at the end of workouts, but like those are really important aspects in order to stay healthy. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. How like much time, if you had to quantify, do you say like you spend a day or a week with rest and recovery?
So I have a great PT who are a physical therapist that put together like a mobility program for me.
Okay.
So from Monday to Friday, that takes up anywhere from like 20 to 40 minutes a day. On top of that, then I have like a stretching and another mobility program from my strength trainer. And that isn't as frequent, but it could be somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
Call it 3 days a week, something like that. So there's so much put in on that. And then in the really heavy training loads of the summer, kind of in the fall, like there's stuff like jumping in an ice bath or doing, all the, like the red light therapy, getting in, the Normatec boots, all these different things that are just working to get you back to standard.
I love the Normatec boots. Those are so great, incredible. Right? Yes. No, but I feel like even just hearing the amount of time that you spend resting, it's so important for everyone to like, however they find their rest and recovery, to be able to balance like the demand of work and stress and living your 20s and 30s and beyond with like active rest and recovery. Have you ever struggled at any point in your career with like doubt of wondering like, am I actually going to make this? Am I actually going to be able to pull this off?
I mean, I think it's a hard thing to avoid, right?
Yeah.
Something like doubt is always going to creep in.
Yeah.
And there's been times definitely where I've gone down that rabbit hole of questioning myself a lot. And I'd say there's nothing really positive in that moment, but the positive that comes out of it is kind of when you overcome it and you break out of it is like you actually learn so much about yourself and about what's going on. Yeah. So there is a benefit to it, just not in the moment or in that storm. There's things like, fear is always going to come into play in whatever you're doing.
Yes.
And fear and doubt are really different. Like it's okay to feel fear. That means you really care about something and that you're uncomfortable, but you're going through it. But when you're kind of looking at doubt, you're almost looking at something that's not really there. Like if you're asking yourself, if I'm asking myself, am I going to make it down this run or am I not? Like I might as well just spend the energy just focusing on how I get down the run.
I love that. Yes.
And that's going to just be so much more beneficial to me. And it doesn't mean I'm not fearful of it.
Yeah.
It just means that I'm aware and I'm focusing my attention in the right place where it's going to make me better.
So would you say that you, like, it almost sounds like you're a little more comfortable with fear than like perhaps like doubt is something where it's like, okay, I need to kind of overwork that, but it's okay to almost sit with the fear in that.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
I think so. Yeah. Because it's like, there's certain things that I think it makes you elevate yourself. Like if fear puts your back against a wall, you almost have to ask yourself, what's going to happen? Am I going to stay here? Am I going to get through it? And if you say, well, I'm going to get through it, then you just have to figure out how to do it. It doesn't mean you'll have all the right answers, or it doesn't mean you'll know what to do, but at least you're giving yourself chances. And if something knocks you down, you get back up and you figure it out and you try again. So it's little things like that I think if you reframe almost just the way you see things and the way you think about things, it can get you out of any situation. Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful and also really powerful, because in speaking with a lot of my peers and other people who are struggling in their 20s and 30s, I think a lot of times when someone realizes like, man, I wish that I was doing this, or I really have this goal, but it seems too lofty, that the fear almost makes people like shut down. It makes them, oh, maybe I should make that goal smaller. Or like I'm thinking of like my own life in terms of like when I feel a lot of fear, I'm like, oh, that's silly. I shouldn't do that. And I think it can cause a lot of like paralysis in action. So I think that that's really cool that you're able to like sit with the fear. How are you able to like acknowledge that, but then still perform?
Right. No, that's a good question. Cause you think there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And in that moment, or in those moments, I guess, you can find a way to just kind of feel grounded, like almost from a very, I don't know what you'd call it, a neurological side, like little things like, rolling your shoulders back, taking up more space and smile, like forcing yourself to smile.
Yeah.
Things like that seem really silly and almost like, I don't know, seem like voodoo.
Yeah. No, but it's
but it
when
makes a difference.
When I had to run fitness tests in soccer in college, we would all power pose like before we did it. And it was always silly, but it like actually, it would like wake my brain up of like, okay, I know how to run a fitness test. Like it's going to be fine.
Exactly. And there's this, it's almost like a two-way street, right? Your body can control your mind or your mind can control your body. And sometimes if you're in that world of like, you're overthinking a little, you're scared, you're kind of thinking of like every different scenario versus just the scenario you're trying to see happen. It's like, let your body just tell your mind what to do. Like put yourself in the state that you're going to perform your best at and let it just override and take its course. So for me, that's like a tool that I had a friend kind of tell me about at one point where he was like, yeah, like if I'm really nervous, I just like force myself to smile. I'll listen to some music that I like and just go along with it. And it seems to work out. So
yeah. What's your ultimate hype up song?
I'll always go back. Like if I can listen to Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana.
Okay. That's a great one.
It was that song played as my alarm. I had like a little clock that had a CD on the top of it. Cute. When I was younger. So like that went off every day before I went to school.
Okay.
Which you'd think I would hate the song
I was
at
going
this
to
point.
say, but
it always brings me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
I remember it and it's always like, okay, kind of reminds me to be a kid again.
Yes. And I think that even harps on what we were talking about initially. There's this quote by Mia Hamm that I loved where she was basically saying like when sports become overwhelming, like remember the kid that just like fell in love with the sport and play for her or for him. And I think that applies to all areas of life, right? Like your career, whatever you're doing that sometimes can become so dreadful or like, like dating where people are like, this is just never working out. It's like, well, you're pursuing these things because you actively like have a passion for them and you love them and you care about them. And so to remember that positive kind of root of it. So obviously you perform at arguably the highest level that any athlete can ever obtain, which is amazing. How have some of these like skills and habits that you've built like improved your outlook in life as, outside of skiing?
There's so much that sports teach you on a big scale. Like, are you able to fail at something and are you able to come back and learn from it? I'd say that's probably, if there was one takeaway that I could come away with my career as that's really improved, is it's been that like learning how to fail and how to reframe things into making something like a failure or poor performance really an advantage to myself and taking it as a learning opportunity instead of something to feel bad about. And I'd say like that's something that translates to everything.
Oh yeah.
Every part of your life. Like there's going to be things that you screw up and that you fail at. And then you get to ask yourself the question, am I just going to stay here and feel, horrible about the situation or learn from it so that the next time that I'm in this position, well, I'm going to know what to do and I'm going to know not to make the same mistake again. And I think like that's a huge learning thing for everyone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that comes across all the time with basically any time you put yourself out of your comfort zone in any kind of way, because it feels like you're extending yourself and it's outside of your norm and it can feel embarrassing and scary, like when you fail, but it's like, at least you tried, at least you're living life to a point where it's like, I'm going to try this. And if I fail at it, at least you tried.
Right. Like who cares?
Yeah. Because if you hadn't tried in all of those situations, you absolutely would not be where you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So I know that the Olympics is obviously a huge goal, but with all you have accomplished so far, like what would you say are your next like top goals, skiing and otherwise?
It's funny because I look back at my career and it's kind of funny. I feel like I almost see the things that all those moments that feel like they slip through my fingers or that I really wish I could get back. So I really don't feel like I've done maybe as much as it looks like on paper, even though, I mean, I'm so grateful to live, the life that I've done, do what I do. But, I look back at it and there's so many opportunities that I really want back. So kind of getting into positions where I get that opportunity again. Really important. Like obviously we have the Olympics this year. And at the risk of sounding over the top, like I don't think anyone goes to the Olympics to try to get second place.
No,
like,
absolutely
you go there to win,
not.
and that's what the goal is.
Yes.
So, whether that happens or it's not, or it doesn't, that's what the goal is. That's what the intent of something is. And kind of going through that through the rest of my career, I'm lucky to still be pretty young and already seen a lot. So getting a couple more opportunities at the Olympics would be really sort of important to me in my athletic career.
Yeah.
With the Olympics coming back here in 2034.
Yes.
I think it'd be really cool to try to still be at a high level.
Yeah.
At that.
Yeah.
So there's kind of big long-term goals that I have like that. But when you look at it and you kind of boil it all down, it's still like, I still just have to try to get better tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah.
And then things will all work out how they should.
Yeah. Because you went to the Olympics, you were really young the first time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was 19.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. At 19, I was just a mere child and you were at the Olympics. What is that like, going to the Olympics again now in theory, where it's like you have a lot more experience, you've been there. Like, do you feel like what are some of the differences heading into it? Round two, which I know we kind of mentioned it was different, obviously, for you when you were 19 because of COVID and that whole thing. But do you feel like, okay, at least I know what I'm getting myself into a little bit this time around?
Yeah. What changes is nothing gets any easier.
Yeah.
Like nothing, just because I've done it once doesn't mean it'll happen again. And nothing's going to get handed to me. But I at least have an idea of what to expect. It doesn't mean I know everything that's going to happen, but I'm not going in dark like I was last time. Like when I was 19 and maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I was just naive to this situation is, I kind of just was doing the best I could, see what would happen. And, I was lucky to make the team. Yeah. Or this year, or this time around.
Lucky and also talented, but yes, keep going.
Where this time around, I guess, I'm in a little different position. Like I'm not necessarily just the young guy trying to come in and prove himself, but I've kind of at a position where I can control a little bit more of my environment just because luckily I'm better now than I was when I was 19. So I have improved.
Yeah. Well, I will say every article I read about you was like, Nick is going to lead the team. You're like third in the world. So I think you're being a little humble right now, but keep going. Yes.
So yeah, in that regard, a lot changes because I know what I'm coming into, but at the same time, nothing changes, which is kind of cool. So it depends what way you look at it. I'm still kind of a kid coming into this and I still have to, prove myself and qualify for this team. It's not like it's done and set in stone yet. So
yeah, I think that again I feel like everything you've been saying, I'm like, that's so powerful, but it's true. That's a really powerful mindset to have where it's like the humility, where it's like nothing's handed to you. You do have to show up and perform. And I think that's in all areas of life as well, right? Like no one is going to like wake up and hand you your dream job or your dream anything. Like you have to put in the work for it. What was one of the things that surprised you the most about going to the Olympics?
There are so many learning moments in that Olympics that like, I look back to today. Even started the way that event works, to start off, there's so many more runs than we're used to in a World Cup.
Oh, really?
So like, normally in a World Cup, you'll ski 3 runs total. And in the Olympics, you can ski up to 5.
Whoa.
So there's a qualifying round. They take the top couple of people. You qualify again. And then it goes to your final, your super final, and then, I don't know, your mega final. Okay,
so a lot of rounds.
So there's so much going on. Yeah. That was one piece I didn't expect. I didn't know that was going to happen. And I look back to that, sort of that experience. The first run I skied, I was so nervous.
Rightfully so.
I was in the gate. It was almost embarrassing. I skied 2 seconds faster than I did in any of my training runs.
No way.
With so many mistakes, so much stuff going on. And I came in at like 22nd, which was well beyond where I needed to be. So there's this really like come to light moment of like, okay, like I get to try again, luckily in 2 days, but I got to figure something out. Yeah. Because what just happened? Like what went wrong? How do I adjust it? And, I had a coach, Matt Ganoza, who I was talking about earlier. He gave me like some of the best advice that I still use today. And he's like, hey, just go out there and just smile and be Nick. So I was getting ready. I wrote that on the palm of my hand and that's kind of what we took the next day. It was like, we're throwing everything technical out the window. Like, you're just going to go out, smile, be yourself. And that's one of kind of the biggest learning moments I feel like I ever took, because I was able to totally flip the script of what was kind of, a really bad experience to start off into something that was great by the end.
Wow. You've mentioned this a few times, just like the power of smiling, which I feel like is something, it's not something I've thought about a ton, but that's wild, that the power and almost like the calming effect that it had on your performance.
Yeah, it's something simple, but it seemed to work.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And it's probably like the other people on your team, have they been to Olympics as well? Or are you one of the only ones that has?
Yeah, there was at that time at the last Olympics, of the 4 guys that went, there was one skier, his name was Brad Wilson, who that was his 3rd Olympics.
Wow.
And he was a really close, good friend of mine, kind of a mentor of mine when I was younger. So I was able to ask him a lot of things, kind of use him as a close friend, but someone to help kind of guide me through a ton of unknown. And the other 3 of us were all first-time Olympians.
Wow.
And when you look to what our team looks like for next year, 3 of the 4 of us that were in 2022 are still skiing, still active. So all 3 of us could be on the team, or it could be a combination, or it could be none of us on it.
Yeah.
We really don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you have countless numbers of young skiers and your peers who look up to you and ask for a lot of advice. What have been some of like the key things that maybe you picked up from him or from other people that comes to being like a good leader and a good mentor and teacher?
Yeah. So there's a close friend that I have. He's the number 1 skier in the world. He's like the best of all time. His name's Mikkel Kingsbury, and he's from Canada. He's probably shown me and taught me more about this life that I'm living at this level than anyone else has. Wow. So he's been like right there as kind of my guy that I can go to. And it was one of the first times that I had ever really spent time with him. I was 14 and we were at dinner, this restaurant in Sweden. And
casual.
Yeah, just random.
Yeah.
But then we're going back and forth and we're talking and he's like, yeah, if you look back at all my best events, the ones that I've been the most pleased by, the ones that I've been the happiest by is when I can win an event where everyone around me skied their best.
Wow.
And he's like, so I've never looked at something and I'm never hoping that someone makes a mistake. I'm never hoping that someone has a bad run so I can beat them. It's like, I want everyone to ski their absolute best.
Wow.
So then I can still beat them at their best. And that was something that I remember hearing at 14 that was like, that's the way to go through life, through everything. Is like, you're never wishing bad on anyone, but you're using that as a way to elevate yourself and really, bring yourself to a new level. So
wow.
I mean, that's like one of 20 things that I could give you from Nick. Yeah. But that was kind of the first and one of the biggest like aha moments of something that really stuck with me.
Yeah. I was having this conversation with a friend just the other day, and we were talking about the importance of being able to celebrate other people who like perhaps have something that you don't, right? Like what a valuable and vital skill that is. And I think that energy that you have when you're wishing well on everyone and that ability to be like, no, I want everyone to ski their best so I can beat them at their best. That creates a certain kind of energy and motivation in you that other people pick up on without you having to say anything. And it leads by example, which is really, really powerful and cool.
Right.
Okay. So I have like a really silly Mogul question, but when you're in the air doing all those little spinny, flippy things, how do you learn how to do that? Because as you're learning, it's like, well, what if you fall? Like, I saw some videos of you doing it in a swimming pool.
Yes.
Is that how that works?
Yep. So that's a big part of it. If you've ever been to the Utah Olympic Park up in Park City, or you've ever seen it.
Yes.
We have all of our jumps kind of to scale or really close to what we see on snow, but it's into a pool. And it starts on a trampoline first when you're, getting started. You're just learning to like move your body through the air and kind of know where you are. Not with your skis on, Not with your skis.
Me, I'm like envisioning that.
Yeah, right. And then you kind of move from that. Then you're onto the water ramps where it's a very low risk environment. You can learn everything you need to without kind of that fear of getting hurt or whatever it is. And once you've done however many backflips or whatever it is on the water, then you can go to snow and you're like, it gets a little scarier because the stakes are higher, but I've done it so many times that it's what's one more time. And I think if you look back at it like that, there's such a seamless transition. Yeah. At least for me or for a lot of other athletes, where you're able to get comfortable at all these things because you've had the right kind of things in place to get there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because just as someone, you know, watching these events, it's always so alarming. You're like, how do you learn to do that? And how are you not falling when doing that?
Right.
It's also interesting watching you compete, how much speed you gain on the moguls to be able to perform those jumps. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's honestly, it blows my mind. Landing in the pool with the skis, is that really uncomfortable?
At first it was.
Yeah.
Like, luckily I started doing it when I was little, so I figured it out when it didn't matter how stupid I looked.
Yeah,
but I guess I'm kind of a pro at swimming with skis on now.
Yeah.
I can't really swim without them because I that's the only way I swim now.
When you're retired, you'll like sign up for an Ironman, but the swimming portion with skis on.
Skis, yeah.
Can't wait to see that one day.
But yeah, we've got a life jacket and everything, so it keeps you up on top of the water and you make it work.
Yeah. I know we talked about this beforehand as well, but there's a really sweet moment of your dad putting the medal on you when you were, what event was that?
So that was a World Cup in Waterville Valley in New Hampshire last year.
Yeah. The emotion and you can tell it's a very special moment. I said this to you already as well, but I think that's probably the proudest dad I have ever seen. What role has like your family played in your career and just like staying grounded in the motivation there?
Oh, I mean, it's been huge. Like it sounds cliche to say, but like I wouldn't be in the position I am in any part of my life without them.
Yeah.
Like without both my parents, they've been such sort of rocks and such good people that I could go to for things. When something does feel uncomfortable or I have a question, I've always been really comfortable to ask them, which, you know, you look back, it's something that I'm so grateful for because not everyone has that close relationship with their family. So that's been something that's huge. I mean, you look back at all the time they spent driving me to and from training or to the gym when I was however old I was before I could drive. You know, they put in so much sacrifice for me that without that, none of this becomes a reality. So now still being able to be really close with them and be able to spend the time with them when I'm home is huge because I'm gone so much that when I am home, I really want to feel connected and like normal again.
Yeah. And I think that's really special as well because a lot of people, you know, maybe they don't have that or you have it so much that you take it for granted. And it's always cool to hear that perspective from someone like you who is on the road so much of how like almost sacred those moments are with your family when you come back home.
Right. Yeah, right. Because you don't get them back. It's one of the things like, you know, my dad's always told me or we've always talked about is you never get the day back.
Yeah.
And when it is finally gone and when something changes, like you're going to look back and think, man, I wish I would have done this.
Yeah.
Well, I never want to look back and have that sort of feeling. So being able to maximize every opportunity together is huge.
Yeah. Wow, Nick, I feel like a lot of what we have talked about today is like taking your life from good to really this level of excellent. What would your advice be to all, you know, the 20 and 30 and however many somethings out there who are trying to like really actively better their life, but maybe they don't know where to start? What would be your advice to them to start tomorrow?
Right. I mean, maybe I touched on it a little earlier, but I think something that's been so valuable to me is being able to reframe the situation that you're in to your advantage and make something positive out of everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's a positive situation and negative, you can turn everything into a positive. It's such a valuable way to go about your life, right? You can get through any challenge, any obstacle in this frame of mind that's really productive, but you're also really sure about what you're trying to do. And you kind of have a path that you're set on. There's a lot less fear and sort of backing off or running away from something, right? Even if it gets scary or if it gets big and daunting, you're running towards it with a plan.
Yeah.
And I think any situation you're in where you can reframe even how you think about it, how you talk about it, that can be something really valuable to help kind of navigate yourself through hard times.
How do you actively reframe that? Is it just saying like the positive version of it, or what do you find to be the most kind of sticky or successful that way?
I think you look at it in a way that isn't like sugarcoating anything, but it's turning anything into a positive. So like a perfect example would be, we had an event last year in St. Moritz, Switzerland. It was the World Championships, and I skied what was, it was up to this point probably the best run of my career that I'd skied.
Wow.
I feel like I'm in a good position to land on the podium, and I get bumped to fourth. So in that moment, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, Like I just skied the best run of my career and 3 other guys beat me. Like how defeated you feel in that moment. But then that would be, the negative side of it. Like you go down this rabbit hole of just feeling sorry for yourself, feeling like the world's on your shoulders and everything's going to end. But then if you reframe it into a way that says, well, look, okay, I skied the best I could, put everything out there. I left no door open where I could have controlled something. That alone is a positive.
Yeah.
Right? In the biggest moment, I showed up.
Yeah.
That's big. Then you look at it again and you say, well, okay, look at what those 3 guys did and see what I need to do to get there. See the next time that I'm in this scenario with them, because it's going to be the same guys in the same sort of situation. How can next time I be better? And how can I learn from this and let this experience be something that fuels sort of my next takeoff versus just getting paralyzed by it. And it's a hard thing to do. You have to be able to ask yourself the hard questions and really be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And it isn't always easy.
Yeah. I think it takes a lot of self-discipline. Like even just that positive comparison that we were talking about earlier, like being able to look at those 3 people who beat you when you had the best run of your life. Like, okay, what am I going to learn? That is so much self-discipline, because the easier route is to get into a slump of I just skied the best, thing I have. Right. And I still didn't get on the podium. And I think that's dangerous, because then that could have caused you to be in who knows how long that slump could have been.
Right, exactly. And then you could start making excuses of like, oh, the judges, they should have seen me do this and they didn't. Yes. They overscored someone, but it's like, why am I worrying about something out of my control? Yep. It comes down to the simple fact of if I wanted to be on the podium that day, I needed to ski better. And I needed to be at a level that I'm not at yet. Yeah. And then you use it to say, well, okay, how do I get to that level? Let's get to work right now.
Do you feel like that internal dialogue kind of helps block out some of like the external critiques or the advice that I'm sure isn't always helpful from outside sources?
Yeah, I think something that I've read that I've loved is like, you have all this outside external pressure. It's different people saying different things about you, but if you can hold yourself to an even higher standard than anyone else could put on you, or put more pressure on yourself, in a positive way than anyone else can, then you control the whole situation. You control your environment, and you know what you're trying to show up for and what you're trying to do. So if you live to that standard that you've set for yourself versus what everyone else is saying, then you're able to just go through like normal, because that's how you live every day.
Dang. You're very wise for I guess you have to be as you're an Olympian, but like you're very wise for your age, or for any age, honestly. So with, I'm sure everybody listening today is going to want to follow along and see your journey. What is the best way that people can do that? Instagram or?
Yeah, Instagram's great. It's nickpage.ski.
Okay.
And yeah, our season kicks off soon, so it's all ramping up fast.
That's so exciting. I can't wait to watch you compete in all of these places and all over the world and in the Olympics. Maybe after the Olympics, we'll have to bring you back in here, hear how it went. Exactly. And maybe while you're doing your crazy mogul runs, I will attempt to put on a pair of skis this winter just to see if I can like get down the bunny hill.
Yeah, right. Well, if you ever need a coach, who you can call.
Okay, yeah, but I don't want to go off any crazy jumps. I just want to go off the bunny hill.
Exactly.
Okay, deal. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on today. I seriously appreciate it so much, and wish you all the luck moving forward. You're going to be amazing.
Thank you so much. No, I was really excited when you reached out, and when I kind of learned more about what your podcast was about, what you were talking about. I was like, this is so valuable to so many people. So I was really excited to be on.
Yeah, well, so grateful you're here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.